Melissa Azell.
I'm Larry King. How you doing?
And we're from Tri-County Golf Ranch in Springdale, Ohio. So Larry, you remember that one time that I was caddying for you about, 2 years ago in the senior championship when we were down at PJ Village?
Really? You really have to bring that up?
And
really?
we were on hole number, technically 11.
3. It was actually 3.
Number 3? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
you're really bringing that up again.
Yeah, it's a good story. So caddies and players have a unique relationship because the caddy has to know the player inside and out. So you really want to be careful who you pick as your caddy. But when the player doesn't even give the caddy a chance to do her job, it can make for some really rough golf. So you want to go ahead and tell the rest of the story?
So we're down in Florida playing a national senior championship, and I par 1 and I birdie 2, and I'm pretty excited, and I got a lot of energy, hyped up. Go to number 3, and the wind's blowing in her face a little bit. And I hit an okay drive in the fairway.
Yeah. This tee shot, it's not the easiest one for my eyeballs, and I don't think it is for yours either, because it requires a draw.
Right, and I don't like drawing the golf ball.
You don't like drawing the golf ball, so you see a cut or fade, and there's a bunker pretty much right in that spot.
Right in that landing zone. Yeah. But I did hit an okay tee shot. It was left of the bunker in the fairway, I think. Yeah. And I think I think you wanted me to hit an 8-iron, and I wanted to hit a 9-iron for some reason. I couldn't remember why. But I went ahead and hit the 9-iron, and I didn't catch it really good, and it comes up, about 15 yards short, 10 yards short of the green?
Yeah, so these greens are like, this green in particular is a bowl, an upside-down bowl.
Yeah.
And it goes into swales, especially on the right side and the back side of the green. So Larry misses it short right.
Yeah.
It goes down into one of these swales.
I'm all...
And the green is shaped like a jelly bean. So it's like a melted jelly bean that's been melted on top of a bowl, if you can imagine that. It's like,
anyway,
and there's no flat spot on the green.
Anyway, I'm not real happy. So I just take off going to my golf ball. I grab my sand wedge right out of the gate.
And what am I doing? I'm busy back with his golf bag, trying to grab putter, grab options like, hey Larry, you might want to use a hybrid on this, or you might want to putt it, or you might want to use a pitching wedge instead of the sand wedge. But he's already playing his shot while I'm still at his golf bag.
Because I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad. And at the time, I don't know about all you other people, but when I'm mad, I can't hear anybody. And I maybe don't want to hear anybody at all anyway. But
you don't like to listen to me.
Yeah, I don't like to listen to
that time
period.
anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So anyway, I can't believe she brought this story up. I guess it's because she likes to throw the needle in there. But anyway, before she's even there, I've already hit, and I hate this down in Bermuda. It's wet, the grain's leaning against me to a short pin.
And it's pretty tight.
And it's tight.
It's tight and wet, which is hard.
Yeah, and I'm not real happy anyway. So, needless to say,
he basically hits his shot before I get there. He blades it to the other swale that's over the green.
Yeah, and even a worse position.
Which is, worse than point A.
But luckily, the grain was going with me.
Yeah, so he hit an okay tee shot, or chip shot to 6 feet?
6 to 8 feet, yeah.
And you 2-putted?
I 2-putted for
so
a nice double.
We walked away with double.
And
I let him know.
Right away.
I let him know. On the way to the next tee box, he's like, shh, shh, not so loud, they can hear you. I'm like, well, maybe they need to hear me because that was just ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
If I would have waited for her to get there, I probably would have putted it anyway.
The putter was a better option for this situation. Listening to your caddy is always the best option. And then choosing
now
putter.
Be careful with
then
that.
choosing putter. But if you already decide you don't need your caddy on the 3rd hole, that's a long. And I wasn't allowed to ride in this event, so I'm busy running in between shots and all. I mean, I had a full body workout the whole time I was there. But
exercise was good for her at the time.
So what we've decided to do.
I was hoping that tiredness would work out in her mouth so it wouldn't be so loud all the time.
No, I think I just got louder.
Yeah, you did.
So we've decided to put together a chipping series for you. It's going to be divided into 4 different subjects on chipping.
Segments.
Subjects. We're going to divide it up into 4 pieces. Basically, we don't want you to swallow the whole piece of pie at once. So the first one, we're going to talk about setup and club selection, and we're going to do that right now. And then we're going to talk to you next about path and your backswing. Session 3 is going to be about tempo. In session 4, we're going to talk about trajectory, where to land your golf ball, club selection, and possibly a couple other little things. But here we go. We're going to start with setup and club selection.
Let's go.
So originally when I started taking lessons with Larry, we started with putting, but we quickly jumped into chipping because if you become a good chipper, it takes pressure off of putting and it also takes pressure off your long game.
That's
so
exactly right.
We're going to jump in with kind of your standard chip shot, the one you're going to use like 90% of the time.
So a lot of that has to do with your setup and ball position. I give a lot of lessons, I know Melissa does too now. Hey, I need to work on my chipping. And what they do, they got their hands way forward, the ball way back in their stance. You can get by with that, but if you move a little bit, it's not going to work. Ball comes off too hot.
Yeah, so you're basically just taking the loft off the club. It might work well if you have a lot of space to where the hole is, but it's hard to judge how hard to hit it every single time.
Then we see them set up this way, don't we, Melissa? They set up, they got all the weight back on their right foot, their shoulders are back like this.
Especially if they're trying to hit it high.
Yeah,
like they feel like they need to hit a flop shot.
And next thing you go, hey, I chunk all my chip shots. Well, look where I'm at. Look where my spine is or my tilt. I'm going to hit behind the golf ball.
Absolutely. So for our basic chip shot, Larry and I like to use a sand wedge most of the time. The reason for that is that there's a lot of loft. We can kind of control the rollout. We can control where we want to land it. It's very forgiving. You can get out of a lot of lives with your sand wedge.
That's exactly right. If you look at the guys on TV and the girls on TV, 95% of them chip with their sand wedge.
Alright, so welcome to session 2. We're going to talk about path with chipping or swing path, especially the backswing. I think that's the struggle for most chippers is the backswing.
I agree. So again, if you remember from session 1, we talked a lot about the setup, which almost dictates the path. It should anyway.
If we're in a great setup, path should pretty much just happen.
Right, but sometimes we all try to manipulate it.
I know for me, I have to feel like my club is really upright because I do tend to get too far from my golf ball. My path starts coming inside.
Right.
So it is a mental note for me to get close and feel like the club's coming straight up. Very rarely do I actually bring the club outside when I'm chipping.
Right. So the thing to me, path is once we have that established a really good setup, and I have to feel really close like Melissa's talking about, but we set up and we see a lot of this where they get the club way inside or behind their hands.
So if I were a wall and I were standing here next to Larry, he would take my shins out every single time.
But if I did it the right way,
he should be able to swing right in front of me.
Right here without
getting me with the golf club.
Exactly right. That's perfect path. We have a lot of drills for those too, but once we establish our setup again, the path should feel like there's a wall here, and you're not going to hit the wall. It's going to you're not going to take it straight up, but it's going to kind of move and hinge.
Well, as Larry turns his chest, the club starts to rise almost on its own because of his grip pressure.
Right.
Grip pressure is really light, which allows the club head to work up because he's allowing the club to hinge.
Right.
And it's not a force, he's allowing it to hinge.
That's exactly
and that hinge is super important.
Super important.
Super important. When people chip, there's usually not enough hinge whatsoever.
Right.
There might be a couple shots where we don't need a whole lot, but I'd say 95% of our chip shots, man, that golf club, the head of the club needs to get up in the air.
Got to get vertical a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know? And we talk about that. There's guys like Jason Day and Steve Stricker who they say they don't hinge it, but if you really watch and slow their swing down, the club is getting a little hinged, believe it or not. It looks like most of us pick it up quicker. They're back here before it actually hinges, but it does have a hinge to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And their perception is their reality.
Right.
And when we watch it from an outside viewer, we can see the club hinge, even though that might not be their swing thought.
Right, that's exactly right.
So welcome to session 3 of chipping. We're going to talk about tempo. So tempo is crazy because it matches your personality.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like to accept that, but his tempo is a little quicker pace than mine, but he's also the one to be in your face and go get you. So mine's a little more deliberate, a little slower, but it's amazing when you start to get to know people, you know exactly what their tempo should be. And when they're bad camera, stay upright. When their tempo
It's going to blow. You need to shove that towel so it's not flat.
It's okay right now.
All right, go.
When they're trying to be something they're not, their tempo doesn't line up with their personality. So when they're trying to be a golfer, that they're not that type of golfer, but they're trying to be it because someone told them they had to be that type of golfer. Their tempo doesn't match up. So it's crazy.
I know.
Know your person, you know their tempo.
Right. I use silly analogies like it's like spreading butter on toast. You can't spread cold butter on toast. You know, next thing you know, God, I wish the butter was.
Bad camera. Bad camera.
No, that's called wind in a towel. Hey, I like it.
Also, you use the analogy pouring the milk.
Yeah.
You don't just dump the milk. You could, but you'd have a mess, right? You actually pour the milk. So tempo, I also like another analogy you use where you take it back at maybe 4 miles an hour and follow through at 6 or 8.
Yeah.
But we're not following through at 20 miles an hour.
Right.
Or driving a car with a clutch.
Right. We see a lot of that where they take it back real super slow, which doesn't match the personality. And they accelerate through. They pop the clutch on the car. Bam! Scroll the tires. The whole works. You know. Or we see a really long one and they decel.
So this is the key to the length of the backswing and tempo. Your brain is so smart that if you take the club back too short, it's automatically going to try to speed up and pick up speed on the way through. Because your brain's like, hello, Melissa, what are you doing?
Falling off the cart.
I'm done with you. So, the opposite too, if you take the club back really far in a chip shot, your brain is going to help you decel or slow down because it knows that, Larry, that is way too much club for what you're trying to do.
Exactly right.
So understand, if we allow our brain to kind of take over and just react to what we're trying to do, we're better chippers.
Well, I talk a lot about, most of us who play golf are somewhat athletic. You don't have to be athletic, but I try to get them to be reactionary when they hit a golf ball or when they chip or when they hit a putt. You got to have a little reaction, right? And I see that too many times. They're not being themselves when they hit a chip shot. Of course, there's an understanding, but a lot goes back to the setup.
Or back to what Dad taught, or what Mom taught, or what my golf coach taught, or, you know, there's so many thoughts, or what I saw on YouTube. So, anyway, tempo is super important.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to talk about trajectory and where to land the golf ball. Chipping. We're talking about trajectory and where to land your golf ball. So, we alluded in our first session about using your sand wedge a lot around the green, which sand wedge has a lot of loft. And understand when we talk about sand wedge, we're talking about anything from like 54 to 58 degrees. So it could be a wide variety. Like my sand wedge is 54, but it's bent to 55 degrees of loft.
Right.
So there's all different kinds of varieties. There's also all different kinds of bounces that you can get on your sand wedges. And fortunately, we are going to have a session with
the Strixon Cleveland guy.
The Strixon Cleveland guy who does wedge fitting. And he's going to join us and talk a little bit more about bounce and loft and all the options. I mean, it's unbelievable what you can have done.
Right.
But
you know what's so funny to talk about that is that all the men and most of the men and some of the women, when they go overseas, they get wedges every week. Almost every week they get a new wedge. They get a wedge primarily because, oh, it's really wet, I need to change the bounce on my club.
Or
it's really
dry.
short, dry, I need to change the bounce on my club.
Or when you're in Florida.
Right.
It's totally different playing on Bermuda than when you're here in Ohio and you're on bent grass.
That's right.
And Larry and I make changes to allow for that, but it would be nice sometimes to just be able to go in our bag or the trunk of our car and grab a different club altogether.
Right.
So, trajectory.
So I like to use it as there's 3 trajectories when I chip, even though there's probably a lot more than that. But I like to think of the key 3. I like to think I'm going to land it 2/3 and roll out 1/3. I like to fly it 1/2 and roll out 1/2. Or I'd like to also see it fly 1/3 and roll 2/3. So I look at all those things from my side and I can automatically give an idea how far I want my trajectory to go.
So understand, when I chip, my ball flight's a lot higher than Larry's. So my ball flight is up here. Larry's is more middle range, and we do have people that can only see low chips in their imagination. They only see rolling chips. So understand, when I'm playing golf, I can land my golf ball a lot closer to the hole than Larry normally does.
Right.
Because my eyeballs see something higher.
Yeah, my eyeballs see automatically low, but I still chip with my sand wedge to hit a low shot.
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with the hands on the golf club. My hands are really soft on the golf club, and Larry loft coming through the shot is a little different between the two of us, and we're talking only a fraction, but it creates a different ball plane.
And when you're trying to create those trajectories, and if you go back to our first session in session 2, we talked about setup and ball position, and those things occur. Sometimes we do have to, according to the lie, a little bit, or trajectory we want, move the ball a little back or a little forward, or
maybe the ball's in a hole.
Right, or get our hands a little forward, slightly forward, or maybe a little back, depending on what we're trying to do. But it's only that much. It's not much.
But the cool thing is the lie basically tells you how to hit the shot.
It does. It does.
So really, there are a couple decisions we get to make, but ultimately we look at where the golf ball's sitting, and that's like, okay, I got to hit this low. I can hit it high. I can't do that.
Right.
As
soon as I go up to my chip and I look from the side to see, the first thing I go is, what's the best chip for me to get it close to the hole? You know, and I see a lot of 1/3, 2/3 shots. Melissa sees more of a half.
Yeah, I walk mine off and I feel with my feet, where can I land this? If it's firm on the green, I don't want to land it too close to the hole.
Right.
If it's soft, okay, I can land it closer. I feel with my feet what I want to do.
Yeah, we do that a lot. We walk up on the green. I see too many students, they just walk up. They don't walk on the green.
Well, the perception is crazy. If you've got a green sitting up here and you're down here, it looks like you have no space to hit your chip shot. But when you walk up there, it's like, man, I got 30 paces to hit this chip shot.
I got a lot of shot. I got a lot of room there.
Absolutely. So it's really important. It doesn't take much time because it actually saves you strokes, which is time. But if you walk up, check it out, what's under your feet.
Yeah,
and then decide, do I have to hit this high? Do I have to hit it low? Some students do choose to use a different golf club, and that's their choice. We often, like 90% of the time, we have a sand wedge in our hands, but that doesn't mean that Larry won't take 3 wedges to the green when he goes into chip shot. I've seen him do it before. Or you're taking a putter, because, like we said, his trip in Florida, he needs a putter. He should have used a putter. Okay? Absolutely. Some like to use 3 woods and hybrids, and you know, in high school we used to challenge each other. Like, I bet you can't chip that with 3 wood. You know, so there are other options. Be creative.
That goes into another story. Sorry, but I was playing in the second stage of the Open qualifier at a place called Clovernook Country Club, and
hey, do you know who has the course record there?
Do you?
I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. For the ladies.
Oh, what'd you shoot?
I shot 69.
From the ladies?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very nice. Anyway, I was in a playoff to make it to the U.S. Open, and I can't remember what year was it. It was in the 80s, somewhere along the lines, probably 85, 6 or 7. I don't know where you were or not, but one of the coolest things I saw, I'll never forget, it was on the 18th hole, Clovernook, and the guy had to make birdie. I was already eliminated, so I finished watching, and he had the rough was real thick, and the pin was tucked close, and he didn't, well, actually what it was setting close to the collar, and he didn't like his sand wedge. So he took a 5-wood baffler, a Cobra baffler, and the whole gallery went, what's this guy doing? He used his baffler and he holed it to get to the U.S. Open. I'll never forget that. And it was pretty cool to watch. I said, man, he just used a baffler. The next thing you know, I'm trying to use a baffler or 5-wood around the green.
Isn't it crazy? Someone sees something on TV and they're like, okay, now I'm going to try it. And then they use it for every single shot. And understand, like, not every shot calls for the baffler.
That's right.
You might be able to get away with it, but not every shot calls for that. So, hopefully you've enjoyed our chipping series. If you haven't seen all 4 videos, go check them out. Also, subscribe down there in the corner. And check out our golf schools. We have a short game golf school. Also, if you want to get fit by our Cleveland strike sign guy, Tim, he's awesome.
He really
Please just contact us and we'll get you hooked up with him.
You got any questions at all, don't hesitate to email us, text us, call us, whatever. We're here to help.
Thanks.